So I have some history on the Baker. I told you a little bit of the history about mineral wells, and it all kind of ties in. But as mentioned, Crazy Water burns down. This is why this luxury hotel needs to be built. T.B. Baker came in, constructed this luxury resort. In 1926, the Baker Hotel commenced construction. And then, like I said, in 1929 is when it opened up. But Mr. Baker stopped construction after he took a trip to California, and he visited a hotel that had a swimming pool. He was like, pause. We got to figure out where we can put a pool at in this place.
Yes, sir.
And the Baker has an Olympic-sized swimming pool on the east side of the building. And it was the first hotel in Texas to have a swimming pool.
What? I didn't know that.
I didn't either until I read this.
Ooh.
So the Baker Hotel, as mentioned, rose 14 stories over mineral wells and housed 450 guest rooms, 2 ballrooms, an in-house beauty shop, and other novelties such as a bowling alley and a gymnasium. So the bottom story was like you could go into the hotel, check in and everything, but they also there's still storefronts around the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Like have you ever noticed that? There's like all the storefronts, and as they're revitalizing it, I don't know if they're still going to use it as storefronts or what they're going to do there. The only thing I hate about the revitalization is they're not going to decorate it how it was decorated. And I'm like, that's what you need to do. Like,
you know how much business you're going to get once that thing opens? Imagine if you did it as a step back in time.
Yeah,
bro.
they're doing it more modern.
Ugh, of course they are.
From the pictures I've seen, they could always change because they've changed the revitalization so much.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while.
But one thing I did see is they tried to keep a lot of like the molding, like crown molding and things like that. They kept a lot of that, like took it down, but they kept it all to where they can potentially like reuse it, which would be
smart.
Really cool. Yeah, really, really cool because it had beautiful.
Oh my God, yeah.
Beautiful architecture. It was very it's like Spanish architecture. It was weird. It was like a Spanish architecture type because the Crazy Water is like also Spanish terracotta type architecture. It's just beautiful. I don't even know how to describe it. It's beautiful.
It's really, it's very ornate and very just fabulous.
I wish I could have.
Ugh, I know.
If I ever have a time slip experience, let it be at the Baker Hotel.
Please.
Yes. So the hotel opened 3 years later, so in 1929, just 2 weeks after the great stock market crash, costing a whopping $1.2 million to build. That is equivalent to $21 million today.
I was about to say, that's like nothing compared to what that thing really should be worth.
Oh, yeah. That's what one of the things is they wanted to revitalize it so long ago, but they would I remember it was like 2012 and they're like, yeah. And then no one could fund it. And then they finally got some funding. And then I have in here a little bit later, but the people who actually are funding it are like from Dallas or something. They're clearly not from here.
Yeah, no.
Not have that money. So the Baker Hotel opened to the public November 9th of 1929.
It's about to start raining really hard.
Yeah, we're going to see how this works. So one thing that I think is above its time is it had lighting and fans that were controlled by the door locks. So it would shut on and off if you weren't in your room.
Oh,
and it would
save money.
Yes. So the hotel was completely air conditioned by the 1940s, which added to its appeal because a lot of places in that time were not. And it offered a meeting capacity of 2,500 attendees in their meeting room. So it became a really good place for conventions as well. Yeah. So that was one of the driving forces, is it had enough space to be a convention center, basically. Even though it opened after the stock market crash or right at the stock market crash, it had immense success throughout the 1930s, largely due to the reputation to be the spa city and the healing waters. And that's, like I said, what drove people to mineral wells in the first place. But the Baker the pool had mineral water, clearly. It had a spa. So it had, I don't know if you've ever watched Halloween Town. You had to watch Halloween. You've never?
Yes, I have, but it's been a long time.
Shut up. I watched it the other day. I watch it all the time. So there's one point in Halloween Town where they're having to gather all of these things to create a spell and blah, 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 blah. One of the things they have to get is like a ghost tears or ghost sweat, something like that. And so there's this guy and he's in like one of those little old sweat things where it's like a little box.
Yeah.
They had that. Like Zach got in one of them in the Ghost Adventures episode.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Nick puts his foot on it and he's like, get your foot off there, Nick. And Nick's like, I'm not doing that. He's like, really, man? You know, he's like, starts to freak out. But I saw that and I was like, oh my God, it's Halloween Town.
Yeah.
So they had all those, like, it was a spa place. They had massage rooms, all the shit. They had everything. So a lot of celebrities came through there and clearly adds to the appeal, right? So Judy Garland, Lawrence Welk, I have no idea who that is. Clark Gable, Lyndon B. Johnson.
I've heard that
and
one.
the Three Stooges.
Ah.
But it is also believed to have been where Bonnie and Clyde have come through.
Oh, yes, I have heard that.
Yes. And so they always used aliases and stuff like that. But someone, a I think it was like a server or just someone in the lobby. They were like, I don't think she saw Clyde, but she was like, I just talked. That was Bonnie.
Mm-hmm.
That was Bonnie. And so there's a whole
thing about that
reputation for them coming through. Okay, so T.B. Baker began to suffer financial difficulties in the early 1930s. Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually declared bankruptcy in 1934. So that's only like 6 years after the hotel is open.
Yikes.
29? No, 5 years.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, it's 5. But so then after that, he passed the hotel to his nephew, Earl Baker, and he had already been the manager of the hotel. So despite the owner's financial problems, the Baker Hotel did continue to thrive throughout the mid-1930s. As the decades came to a close, however, Mineral's reputation as a health spa was in decline. Advances in modern medicine and the discovery of antibiotics such as penicillin began to lead doctors to encourage that rather than therapeutic waters.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Yes. So business began to suffer until a second boom in the Baker Hotel's popularity began when Camp Walters came through, and that was in October of 1940. And then, as I had mentioned, Camp Walters had, well, I told you it was just a war place. But
a war place.
A war place.
A base.
Yep, war place. Duh. They're clearly the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's probably when Woody's came to town too.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's an old army barracks.
Mm-hmm.
So it was home of the largest infantry placement in World War II, and the hotel enjoyed its greatest popularity and success as a result. Throughout World War II, the transient and permanent population of Mineral Wells hovered near 30,000 people.
Wow.
And a lot of people had made their temporary homes in the Baker. So.
And they're forever after they died.
And forever and ever. Yes. And that is where you stayed. So Camp Walters was shut down in 1946, 1 year after World War II ended, and nearby businesses suffered as a result. As I said, Mineral Wells does this. It's a roller coaster of people are here, people are not here, people are here, people are not here. Right now, we're in a people are not here.
Really?
I think.
I feel like it kind of boomed a little bit once they kind of like revamped the square a little bit. Like it's a little bit cuter. There's more stuff.
They got a new
festivals.
Yeah, they got a new city manager. He got sworn in not that long ago, so I think that'll make a difference as well.
Yeah,
and like they got some new council members.
It's a cute town.
Oh, I love it. I love walking down.
Oh yeah, that little store that's in
Coffee and Cocktails.
Coffee and
the
Cocktails.
Market.
Love that place.
I love Coffee and Cocktails. That's where I did my bachelorette. Was Coffee and Cocktails, and then there's a brewery, Rick House. And they have a really good sangria. It is very dangerous, though. And I feel like they've opened another few places. But they have like a wine bar down there. So you can go to Coffee and Cocktails wine bar.
I've heard good things about the wine bar.
It's pretty cool. They sell beer and wine.
Yeah.
I drink beer because I don't drink wine.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool nightlife area.
Yeah, yeah. It's better than it was 5 years ago, I think.
Oh, totally.
You know? Yeah.
Certainly. That's where I would prefer to, like a night out, I would prefer to go there.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely am looking at buying a house there because I would way rather live there than where I'm currently residing. But there's not like a bunch of tourist stuff going on right now.
Yeah,
but the Baker was said to reopen in 2024, and then it was said to reopen in 2025, and then now I think it's mid 2026.
I cannot wait.
Yeah,
they're starting foot in there, bro.
They're starting renovations from the top down. So they've already redone the ballroom. So William Clark Green, you know, his album is The Baker Hotel, and he did a whole concert up there. The ballroom's already good. So they've already redone the top. They're going top down, I think, to keep vandalism
at
people.
Bay, to keep people out.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And I think they actually, because I think one of the main access points when people would break in was the basement, the kitchen. And I think that's another thing is they were like, we're going to...
Yeah, keep this closed down.
Yeah. They've already redone all the windows, and
I cannot wait. I haven't been down there in a hot minute.
But aside from these successes, business declined steadily through the 1950s, and the proverbial final nail was driven by Earl Baker himself when he announced that he would be closing the hotel after passing his 70th birthday. So, true to his word, he did shutter the doors on April 30th of that year, which was in 1963, bringing an end to the 34 years of service that the Baker Hotel held for Mineral Wells. So I don't know how, but the Baker Hotel did open 2 years later, again in 1965. And then Earl Baker had a heart attack in 1967 in his suite there. And in 1972, the Baker closed again, but for the last time finally. So now the scary part of the Baker Hotel. We know some people who have decided.
They will not be named.
Nope. I asked them for their stories and they said, I will type them up. And I said, well, I'm doing the episode like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll get those eventually and I'll share them. But I do know one of them was they had kind of set up like booby traps because there was a group of them who went in. And they had set up booby traps to scare the other groups because they kind of like were trying to mess with each other. So they had set off like, bells on doors and whatever. Something did scare them bad enough to where they were actually trying to abandon the building.
Mhm.
And that is where said friend's friend got stuck in the stairs. Got stuck on the stairs, a shoelace or something. And then the cops showed up and they were not very, parents weren't happy and everyone went home. Because someone called that they'd seen lights or stuff in there. But they had said that they broke in through the basement and that the kitchen was terrifying and still had knives on the walls.
I think somebody had called because they parked right outside the fucking front door. They parked right out front and somebody called it in because they saw the vehicle and it was in the middle of the night. And so somebody called it in and then the cops showed up as they were like leaving after they had already gallivanted through the hotel.
Yeah.
And then they were like, "What you doing?"
Yeah. The fun part of this is one of the people who was there is now a Mineral Wells cop.
Yes.
So that's fun.
But yeah, do you know some of the stories that?
No, didn't get any yet. But I thought that they had set up booby traps and were trying to scare each other. But then I asked another somebody who was from Mineral Wells, which I don't think he cares, but it was my brother-in-law. He's from Mineral Wells. And I asked him, I said, what are some of your stories? And he didn't tell me them either. I was with him last night.
Guys, come on.
I'm like, be better. But I do remember one of his stories. He said that him and his friends, there's a whole thing where if you go up, he was either the 11th or the 13th story. Are you dying?
Did he say yes?
What?
When you asked him if he was dying?
No, he said, no.
No, I'm hungry.
Yeah, he said, are you bringing food home or anything?
Aw, what a sweet baby. I don't know him and I just love him. I'm like, oh, he's my little nephew. I love him.
He is very sweet. He really is like super kind.
Were you in the middle of a story?
I was saying something. Oh, Eugene, yes. So he's from Mineral Wells. He's a crazy man. And he said that if you win, it's either the 11th or the 13th story. If you go up and you drop a penny, like from that, then no matter what, it folds in half. So he said like the bottom, like on the ground, and it's supposed to be like a paranormal thing because it's supposed to be like, he said you can throw it willy-nilly and it always will fold in half at the bottom, like once it hits the ground.
That's weird. I wonder why.
Don't know.
I wonder what the theory is behind that.
Yeah.
No, I remember the other human that we have in common. I remember them telling me like that they took a video camera.
I actually don't think they care because they said they wanted to come on the podcast to tell stories as well.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I just said we don't have the setup for that, but we can figure it out one day.
Okay. It's our brother.
Yeah.
It's like, our older brother. We're just trying to be
solve the mystery.
Okay?
Yeah. I don't think he cares that much.
I honestly don't think he gives a shit either. I could text him and he'd be like,
I don't give a
what?
fuck.
Okay. So yeah, our older brother broke into the Baker Hotel when we were how old? We were.
I don't know. Our dad was so happy.
Oh my God, he got in so much trouble. But they parked in front of the
and it doesn't help. He was driving, like they had loud vehicles.
Yeah.
So.
And there was like 5 of them at least.
I can think of 3, 4. I can think of 4 right away.
But anyway, yeah, there was our brother and a group of his friends, and I remember they said that one of the girls that was with them, they had a video camera, or like a disposable camera or something. Somebody had a camera,